So the other day I decided to try something that I never really had on my scale to do. I did want to make a video about it, but I wasn't really sure what it was I wanted to do. And I figured the best way to just dive into this was to do what everyone does, and that was to model a donut. So yes, the other day I decided to start learning Blender. Why am I doing this as somebody who's been using Maya for 15 years? Because A, I've never used the application. I've never used it, and I don't know much about it. I know that it's created things for a long time. I know that it's fairly capable of what it does now, especially after recent years and recent investments from companies like Amazon and V-Ray. But B, I was more so interested in seeing if it was as good as people say. I will say this. It has some things that I like. It has a lot of things that I dislike. I think Blender is probably well on its way to becoming something that could be usable in a studio space, but I do think it still needs a lot of work. I do still think the things that I have gone through so far in this first video, paint a very clunky picture on the way modeling works in Blender, but I'm giving it a fair shot. I am going through the entire series, which was created by Blender Guru, and I'm making the entire donut. You can follow this journey live on Twitch or on the YouTube channel in an edited format because I won't be streaming it to the YouTube channel. The reality is I'm not doing this to replace Maya. I am still very much a fan of Maya, and I will still continue to use and pay for Maya. But I wanted to give Blender a fair chance to see what exactly everyone was so hyped about. I don't think Blender is a bad application by any means. I dislike it just as much as I dislike Cinema 4D or Houdini. I chose my tool. I like my tool. There's nothing wrong with that. But I hope you enjoy watching me go through learning Blender. This is an edited format from the original live stream. If you do want to watch the original live stream or catch the next live stream, it'll be live on my Twitch. The link is in the description. I didn't want to have it there twice, so I'm not streaming it to YouTube. So, if you couldn't have guessed it tonight, that blurred out logo above me is the Blender logo. If you don't know what Blender is an open source, free 3D application. Maya costs me about $300 a year. If you get the full-on professional grade version of it, which is the same as what I have, you just can make more money with it. It's like $3,000 a year. It's not cheap. Blender is free. Blender is capable. Blender has a lot of stuff in it. I don't know how to use it. So I figured it would be a good time to try to use Blender. Am I going to switch to Blender? Probably not. We will see after this whole thing. And honestly, Blender's not bad. There's nothing wrong with Blender at all. This is Blender. Okay. So here's what we're doing. This is the plan for tonight. I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of history on my Blender usage. I have never used it in my life. I didn't plan to. Okay, welcome to Blender. I don't use this software. How do I do? Do I just do new? General? Sure. Okay. Okay, we're gonna pull up the Blender donut tutorial. So this tutorial is, from what I can gather, pretty standard for people who want to start out learning Blender. Again, I've been using Maya for 15 years now. So it's gonna be real hard to convince me to move from Maya to this. I love that it's free. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely love that it's free, and I think anyone who wants to get into 3D should start here. However, I don't know. I have no opinions yet. I did try to move around Blender a little bit, and it gave me an aneurysm. So we're just gonna start. I'm gonna give a big shout out to Blender Guru. I'm using his tutorial. He's a wonderful channel if you're trying to learn Blender. My channel isn't so much for Blender, but he's a good resource for this.
Back in 2016, and I've been remaking it every few years to keep up with Blender's development.
Okay, I do appreciate that he does that, because the software, no matter what software you use, it changes every freaking year. So that's cool that he does this every year.
In that time is your 3D viewport, and it's where you'll spend probably 90% of your time because it is the 3D world. So you can see that we have three objects here. We've got a camera, we've got a cube, and we've got a lamp. And when we click on it, you can see it's selected because it has the yellow outline. So let's delete the default cube, of course, and replace it with something else. So we could do that by going up to the add menu up here, or by remembering the hotkey, which is Shift A. So Shift A for add. So usually the one you're looking for is underneath mesh. So these are called your primitives, and it's what you use to start something when you're looking to make an object. Like if you're going to make a chair, you might start with a cylinder as the chair leg and then build out from there. But the one I'm sure you're all very curious, you want to click it, it's the monkey. So let's just click the monkey. Why does Blender have a monkey?
The Blender monkey.
Fun fact, every 3D software has its own little random complex object because it's useful to test things like shaders or complexities of scenes. So 3ds Max has the Utah teapot, Houdini has the toy, and I think Pig's head. Blender has the monkey. And it's actually called
I actually don't know what Maya has anymore.
Which you can see in the top left there, named after the orangutan from the film Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back.
Perfect.
Random piece of trivia. So let's get a better look at it. And to that, we need to orbit, which you can do by on your mouse there, your scroll wheel. That is cool.
So this part I figured out earlier because I didn't want to go in completely blind. But this is about as far as I got. So
your middle mouse button. If you push that in and then drag around, that is now orbiting. Now, for my laptop users, you've just panicked because you realize you don't have a mouse. How are you going to...
Don't do 3D without a mouse. Just don't.
Orbit around.
You can use a pen, just don't do it without a mouse. Trackpads are the devil.
First of all, probably a good idea to get a mouse for 3D work. It will come in handy. But in a pinch, you can get by without it just by up here in the top right-hand corner. This little...
Keep in mind, I'm not so worried about people being able to see this and like work off of it with me because this isn't my tutorial. I'm going off of somebody else's tutorial. This is purely me learning Blender. The mouse controls are a little bit different
and then move
from Maya. Which is definitely painful, to say the least. But I get it. Every software is different. ZBrush is different. Cinema 4D is different. They all have their own weird control scheme.
If we go to across, you should see rendered view mode. So if we click that, your computer might stall for a quick second whilst it loads it in, but you can see it's now different. We have directional light. We have shadow cast across the monkey. So it's now currently being lit by this lamp up here. So if I wanted to, zoom in on that lamp there and just kind of like move it around, you can see it's kind of hard to focus on. Like it's always exactly not in the right view. And that's because we are centered on our monkey right now. We need to change the focus. We need to pan to something else. So we could do that one of two ways. One, if you're on a laptop, you could use the little move tool there. That will do that. Or everyone else, shift, middle mouse click, drag, that will do the same thing.
That's pretty,
middle mouse
that's pretty standard.
Shift, middle selection, stay here. And instead, remember the hotkey, which is G for grab. Now, I just tapped the key, and you'll notice as I move my cursor that it's now attached to my cursor. It's not, my cursor isn't even actually close to it. In fact, my cursor could be on the other side of the screen, and I could tap G, and it will move it. And at first, this is
that's kind of nice.
Awkward. You're like, why is it pull out? You can see you get this like gray line that pulls out from the center, and then if you just drag out and move around, it will snap it to the nearest axis, which again is maybe an odd way to work, but it's actually really handy because it means you don't have to think.
That is actually kind of nice. I will give it that.
I can just tap G. Blender's hotkeys are different than what you are used to. So if you actually go to preferences, just for those people that are from other softwares,
please tell me.
Key map to industry compatible, you'll find that these shortcuts are probably more in line with what you remember from other software.
I feel like changing the keys to what I'm used to will actually make this so much better.
Different than what you are used to. So if you actually go to preferences, just for those people that are from other softwares, if you change the key map to
industry compatible,
you'll find that these shortcuts are probably more in line with what you remember from.
So I'm curious then. Okay. That's much better. That's, oh God. Okay. So W. See, this is fine. That's good. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. +1 for Blender. I'm gonna give him that one.
Other software. I'll also put a link to a cheat sheet that is just.
For those of you that are confused on what I just did, Maya has a very specific set of like movement tools and their hotkeys, and there's thousands of hotkeys. So to have to learn different sets of hotkeys for every single application is actually a massive pain in the ass. And it happens a lot. Like if you're going from Maya to ZBrush or Maya to Substance Painter or Maya to Blender, like whatever it is. So the fact that they allow you to use the industry standard shortcuts, that is very nice.
Just for the little mouse to drag it, you can see.
So there is an issue here with me using Maya shortcuts, but I think I can work around it. Yeah, there we go. Properties. I think that's the right menu. Item tool, yep.
For whatever reason. And then go to view. There's a little box there that just says lock to camera to view. So now with that active, if I just use the same keyboard shortcuts as before, middle mouse button to orbit around, shift middle mouse to drag it, you can see that the camera is moving with it.
Not too concerned with that right now.
I can set it up exactly as I want, then hit N again, and then I can disable that. And then now as I pull out, you can see that the camera will stay exactly where it was. And I could do a lovely, pretty render. But this is too simple. If we post this on the internet, people are bound to make fun of us. Imagine that. Well, we could give it
It happens a lot.
Right?
You'd be surprised.
So, with our monkey, essentially.
New.
So underneath here, where it's got new, I'm just going to hit new. And then you've got a bunch of options. Very confusing. Ooh, IOR, subsurface. Again, don't worry.
I do prefer that Maya pops it out instead of leaving it in this little sub shelf. Nitpicky thing. It's fine.
Worry about it. We'll get to all of that later on. The one that defines
there's probably a way to set that up.
The color is the base color. So if I do a single left click on that white box there, I can then change this color
Green
to
monkey.
Whatever I want. I could make it an odd, creepy, skin-toned monkey head.
No, we're going green.
Like that. And do a render. Okay. So what sort of hat do we want to add? We could do a boxy hat. Let's do a party hat with a cone. So once we've added that object, you can see it's just plopped it straight in the center, intersecting our monkey.
All right.
So we need to move it. We can move it, and we could grab it with the G key. So
green monkey with a red party hat.
Just on our cursor there. I don't want to move it just freehand though, because I like the position, but I just want to move it
like
up.
the scaling on
so
that.
I'm going to hit Z to move it along the Z axis. Right, I like it there. So once I like the placement, I'm just going to do a single left click.
What the?
Okay, great. But too big. See, need to learn another tool, which is scale. So we could go to the scale tool there, and then we get this familiar
but why can't you?
Little axes there. But again, most people prefer to remember the hotkey.
Figured it out.
Which for scale is just S. So S to scale.
W for Maya users.
Resizing that, and I got to rotate it down. All right, so I'm going to rotate. So with the camera selected, tap R.
Hold up, I kind of hate that. I know I got to do this. View. Okay, that's better. Make sure we frame that monkey perfectly. Okay. I'm going to render just so we can catch up with this. Green monkey with a red party hat.
Here, and I will see you in part 2.
Okay.
Now.
All right, so. Delete the monkey. So far, not bad. It's a little bit clunkier than I would like. It takes a lot to get something to just like function the way that it normally does in an application like Maya or maybe Cinema 4D or Marie or whatever you're using. A little bit more work. If you're okay with that, fine, not a big deal. But for me, that's a little weird. Controlling the camera that way is just odd. I don't understand that. So let's start making a donut.
Delete our default cube just with the delete key, and let's replace it with a new object. You might remember the hotkey for that is Shift A.
I wonder if we're going to add a
As I
torus.
mentioned before, you usually want what is underneath mesh because these are your primitives. So we want to start with something that most resembles what it is we're building. If it was a house,
Be a
you
torus.
might start with a cube. If it was a vase, you might start with a cylinder. In our case, we want the donut shape box. You see options, and look, we can change the dimensions of our torus. Now, something to note is that these options in Blender only appear immediately.
I can tell you right now, 100% I would not move to this from Maya. Just because already there's so many extra steps to do something right now. And I know each crowd is going to say the same thing, but right now, the way I'm looking at this, like everything has so many extra steps.
Okay.
What'd you do?
Once
39?
I'm happy with this, once I'm ready to click
30.
off,
Whoa,
click
whoa,
off,
whoa,
the
whoa,
options
whoa,
are
whoa,
gone.
sir.
Yes, so I find that some
Sir. Oh, he did 0.39. Whoa, wait a minute. What in the hell? What? Why'd you make it so small?
your object selected, go to Shade Smooth.
Ah,
and look at that.
Okay.
This is immediately
it's
better.
Still pretty.
Without getting too technical, this is kind of a fakery. It's sort of like the shader is
jagged,
telling the renderer that
okay.
this is a really high.
If this video gets 1,000 views on YouTube, I will 3D print the donut. Okay.
You can do a whole number of things. The one that we're looking for is underneath Generate, and it is called Subdivision Surface. And it is a really common modifier that you use all the time. In fact, it's so common, it's actually, you can just immediately add it to any
assume
object
that
just by
gets
hitting
rid of
Control 1. But don't do that because we've already got it. So there.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, some of you might have just discovered that your donut.
So if you don't know what that does, that increases the amount of faces present on this polygon by subdividing the model. So it's mathematically evenly distributing faces across the model and smoothing it basically, instead of faking
faces, right?
Keep in mind, if you're watching this on YouTube, this was streamed live on my Twitch. Follow me at cryptic_visionary, live on Twitch, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday.
And then
I do like the way he's explaining this. He does a really good job of like walking you through as a first-time user using this application. This is how I try to set up my tutorials, so I appreciate that he does this.
That it is smoothing it out as well. Extra options here. So let's enter into edit mode. Ooh. Right. Now,
again, that's an extra step that's just kind of unnecessary. I don't know. I'm being nitpicky. It's fine. Let me be it. I'm going around on the outside of those sharp edges. Oh, interesting.
Now, you can see our mesh, our object has become something that looks weird. It's got a bunch of little points on it.
It has vertices.
Very technical. Well, that's because this is actually what the mesh is made up of.
What?
These little points here, which you can click on just by selecting,
Why?
are called your vertices. The singular term is called vertex. I never say that. I like to just call all of them vertices, regardless of whether it's one or two.
Okay.
Just because you always get some comments.
Weird way of doing that, but all right.
Actually, it's called vertex if it is singular. Anyway,
True.
So these are called your vertices. And if you have two of them joined by a line, that is called an edge. And if you have four of them
that is a face.
forming a face, then it's called a face. So with these, I can quickly change the shape of my object by using the same hotkeys as before. And if I want to move this, then I would simply tap G, right? And you can see it's now attached to my cursor. And then if I want to confirm it's...
We're gonna make a
just do
spiky
single
donut.
left click, and there it is. Now, if I go back into object mode, like that, you can see that my mesh has changed.
Do that?
Okay. And by the way, the hotkey for jumping in and out of object and doing the mesh around it. Now, a lot of people in my previous tutorials were like, I don't see what's going on. You have to have something selected first. And then when you hit G, you scroll down. Sorry, if I scroll up, you can see it's shrinking its circle of influence. And if I scroll down, it is expanding its influence. So it's only going to affect what is in that ring
cool.
there. Okay.
All right, I can appreciate that.
If you are on,
it's not perfect anymore, so there's
just so
that.
you can get around that. But guys, you got to get a mouse. Get a mouse with a scroll wheel. I think
the best advice that you can give anyone who's getting into 3D, if you're not using a mouse with a scroll wheel, don't buy one of the mice that has the little, you push the scroll wheel and it changes whether it's clicky or anything like that. It will not work.
Here,
just make the
I
most
pull this up just by hitting
imperfect
G,
donut.
up. Okay, so already this is looking a little more natural,
something.
right? Because even if we were making a stylized world for a Pixar movie or something like that, you can't have
it's like
just
triangular.
I
don't like that.
Looking donut. Sorry, spherical, round looking circular donut.
And the circle on the inside is never
as fake. So very quickly, I'm able to add a little bit of variation to the donut.
I'm happy with that.
Just all around it. Has like a steep-ish learning.
Also, I do like how he makes this very nice. Like it's a very simple object, very easy thing. And when I decided to start my first tutorial series, I chose a pistol. So I can appreciate his thought process here.
Curve. So you're in that steep slope right now, and it's really common. Like, a lot of this stuff is very foreign. 3D is very unique. It's very different to a lot of 2D tools. But don't give up. Like, it's definitely achievable to learn and self-learn at home. You don't have to go to school. You don't have to pay for a tutor.
I love that. I fucking love that. Do not, unless you have a community college that offers CG learning that's cheap, do not pay for this. Do not pay for school. You can learn all of this on the internet because it has existed on the internet since before those schools existed. You will save so much pain and so much money. Don't go to an expensive school. Find channels you like, and it's going to work. Oh, I'm in edit mode. Okay, JK, figured it out.
And now we're going to make that icing, which we haven't actually. It's only selected, annoyingly, what is facing the camera. Where there's a mesh, it's not gone through the mesh.
Yeah.
A lot of users find this annoying. I agree. Sometimes seems like that would be the more default one that would make more sense. But anyway, don't want to argue. So if you want to select through a mesh, you can go up to here in your top navigation, toggle X-ray. If you turn that on, it's going to enable you to see through the mesh.
Why? Okay. That's dumb. I'm sorry. That's dumb.
You can see that I have selected all through the mesh as I move around it.
That makes no sense. They need to change that. You should just by default be able to select right through the object. That doesn't make any sense.
By the way, you might find it like when you're in this state, it's kind of just faces. You want the vertices, that's everything. And now we have, if we go back to object mode, and then let's turn off toggle X-ray as well. And you can see it's working. We got half the donut on top of itself. But as you move around, you can see you get some flickering. Now, this flickering happens, and it's actually a very common, it's actually a good warning sign to you as an artist, because it means you've got faces on top of faces, and the 3D software doesn't know which face it wants to render, right? So it's like sometimes saying it's the front face, no, the back face, the front face, and there's no understanding. Sometimes you can actually spot it in TV shows and like VFX or like low budget stuff, you can see something flickering in the background. So what we want to do is we want to give thickness to our icing. So we can do that with a solidify modifier. So adding another modifier, make sure you've got your icing selected, not your donut. And then here where you've got add modifier, we're going to go generate, solidify. Okay. Now it's made it worse. It's actually added a thickness to our mesh there, but it's actually done it the wrong way. So it's with the normals. It's trying to put the extra bit inside the donut. So we can change that by just changing the offset here in the solidifier settings. Just drag that all the way to 1. Some of you might have actually found that it was correct before, just depending on which way your normals were. If that's the case, keep it at -1, but everyone...
Why am I still in X-ray? Solid. Oh, shit. Ah, that's why. Oops.
Else, keep it at 1 and move it.
I don't know if I like that, because modifiers are cool. I don't use a lot of modifiers because I'm a hard surface modeler, so like, you just don't use a lot of them except for like bending things. Maya doesn't really handle things that way because it's almost like you're creating like a fake effect on it. So maybe there's a way to like bake that effect on there. I'm not really sure, but that's kind of strange that you have to do that way.
It down, you can see that it's working, but it would be
sprinkles are coming.
A lot of effort to go round and round and do these one by one. So we want to use that old familiar proportional fall off tool again. So proportional editing on, and now as I move it down, let's just lower the slider way down here, and then let's pull this down. Okay, now we'll find issues. If we move to the side here, we can see the first issue we've discovered is that this is separating from our mesh here. And that's not what icing does. When it dribbles down, it follows the shape of the donut all the way down. So what we want to do is snap, undo it a number of times, snap the vertices to our donut underneath it.
Okay.
Right? So for that, we need to turn on snapping up here. Okay, now there are a number of ways to snap in Blender. The default way is increment, which just means the like the grid floor there. Like if you were to just like move it around, you can see it's just snapping to the grid floor. Not helpful. But we want to snap it to the face. And now with face snapping enabled, if we move this down, we can see, let's just look here, that the so we can do that by actually using the subdivision surface modifier. Because although it is a modifier, you can apply the modifier. And the modifier currently is adding geometry, so let's just apply it. So to apply it, we just click this little drop down here next to the modifier, and then go apply. Now, if we, nothing should have changed from this view because the same, and the modifier currently is adding geometry, so let's just apply it. So to apply it, we just click this little drop down here next to the modifier and then go apply. Now,
it's already there though.
Nothing should have changed from this view because the same information is being displayed. But in edit mode, you should now see exponentially more faces because here, where there was one face before, you can see there's now a lot more, right? 4x. Okay, 4x. Okay.
So why is that not there? Because don't see it. It's there. And it's doing what it needs to. Duplicate? So, okay. I wonder if this is different. Is it going to do the same thing I need? It's going to do the same thing I need, so I guess it doesn't really matter. For some reason, I'm just not seeing the faces. Okay.
So,
to delete this modifier, or does it need to be below? Is there a hierarchy thing going on here? I bet you there is. No, there's no hierarchy. It's doing the job, it's just not showing it, which is odd. So I'm a little confused as to why that is. Advanced. That's kind of strange. Real time. Oh, there we go. I don't know why. Okay. Cool. Whatever. Okay. Sweet. So we're going to close that out. Show this in real time. Beautiful. Okay.
A chain, roughly speaking. And you can see we can very quickly select.
How did I change that to faces from vertex? Okay, there we go. Okay.
More tool. And if you use Control Plus, Control Minus goes the other way, you can see that it's expanding out. So Control Plus will just like select the next vertice along a chain, roughly speaking. And you can see we can very quickly select all the parts of the mesh that we don't need, right? Very cool. By the way, if Control Plus doesn't work for you because you're on a laptop or something else, select more, less. You can also do it here. Anyways,
wait. Select. I'm gonna do this right. Up arrow, down arrow. That's different. That's also different from Maya, so that doesn't make any sense. Ooh, okay.
But anyways, as you can see, I'm not paying particularly too much attention to it, but I'm just making a wavy looking shape around it. You might also want to make some bits that go the opposite direction, right? And then maybe pull, so you've got like big shapes.
So I'm going to take these areas that I don't like and just...
And some small shapes, big, medium, small. It's the recipe for appealing design, big, medium, and small details. But I digress. By the way, I should mention, if you're stuck, don't feel bad, because there was certainly a lot of finickiness going on with this donut here, and we're definitely in the steep part of that curve at the moment. Do make use of my Discord if you are stuck. I created it literally so that people could get instantaneous help. I don't have any other benefit for it, so it's there so that you can find help. Link is in the description, and there's like donut help chat room where you can post screenshots of your problem, and then people can help each other out. So do make use of that. Now, our shading issue here, this darkened edge, is actually going to fix itself by fixing another issue. So it's a two birds, one solution kind of problem. This 90-degree edge here for this icing, not ideal.
No.
Everybody knows that a real icing would create like a rounded edge there, right? So we can fix that just by adding another subsurf modifier. Because you might remember I mentioned, like, yes, if you've got
Like
three
a
vertices,
secondary one?
it'll create like another vertex here and another vertex here, but it'll also like round it out. It'll pull this one back, so you end up with a rounded corner. So right here in your modifier stack, we're going to go add modifier, generate subdivision surface. Now, the order of these does matter. Okay, you want your solidifier at the top and the subdivision after it. So Blender works top to bottom, and it's important it's in this way because you want the extrusion to happen first, and then in order to round that edge, it has to happen as a set.
So it does seem like Blender tends to stack and stack and stack and stack, which I guess is a good workflow. I don't really know. This is very different from the way that I work in Maya, so it's, I don't know. I don't know if Maya even functions this way really in many aspects. This is a very different like type of modeling than I'm used to. It's good, but it's also clunky. So I'm gonna give it that. Extrude vertices, I guess, is what we're doing. Whoa, hold on a second. Now we're gonna do extrude edges.
Yeah, like about there where I want the trail to stop, and I'm just going to do click, left click, and it's now placed it there. Now, it's hard to see it, but if I just switch to wireframe, you can see what it's doing. So it's created this breakaway shape here, an entirely new face that's completely separate to what we've got there currently. And what this means is if we go to object mode, you can see it's not just like continuing this form here, it's pulled it down, right? Which is exactly what we want. And in fact, I want it to go even further than that. So I'm going to select those two vertices. I'm going to pull it down again, and then I'll do it again. And the reason I've done this 1, 2, 3 is that this detail here is important so that it conforms to the shape of the donut.
That's not what I wanted at all.
Because if there's not enough, you're going to have that clipping issue that I showed you earlier. So that's pretty good. And now we're going to do it again. Originally in my earlier versions of the donut, I only did like one of these, but then I noticed that in the render, the final render, it's often the most interesting part of the donut. So now I'm thinking, yeah, just do it all the way around the donut.
Oh God, I don't like that it
just add the bit that looks cool. Add more of that. So here, so wherever there's essentially like a big dip is what I'm looking for, like where the liquid would sort of build up and then like the surface tension there would be just too much, and then it would break away.
The problem here,
it would go down,
is that
down underneath like that.
Kind of like,
and we'll do another one here. Why not?
Okay,
like that and down.
Kind of getting this
and down,
but also not at the same time.
And that's pretty good. Haha, lovely. So that concludes finally this heavy part of the tutorial. So if you are ready to watch the next part, I hope you're not.
Okay. Sure. It just has no like character to it. I mean, maybe if I make the solidify a little bit thicker than a snicker. Okay, see, that's better. I think I'll leave it at 3. And then like, I don't know, I guess I can technically do another one. So what I'm confused about, so if I go to extrude, it wants to just auto place this, and I hate that. Okay, well, I mean, that kind of works. So G does allow you to just work that way. Oh, Jesus. See, oh, you know what probably isn't helping? That was probably not helping. I didn't turn that off. Okay, so maybe that was my mistake. Maybe I screwed up and I just didn't turn off the circle influence thing. So we're gonna add our little gob here. This is very strange to me. It's going too far in. Sure, that looks like a drip of some sort. Then let's add one over here. We'll just... He added 3, we're gonna add 3. Because honestly, to model something like this in Maya, I would have just done it. I would have still used the extrusion type, but like, it just would have been so much quicker.